Social and political commentary from a Christian male perspective.
All right. Let's jump into it. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the title. So let's get at it. Let's go.
Tonight, hundreds of supporters celebrated as a judge granted bond for 57-year-old Mahendra Patel, released after spending 47 days in jail.
It was a shocker. In fact, I didn't even realize why they were arresting me in the first place.
Patel is charged with attempted kidnapping of a minor, assault, and battery after Caroline Miller says he attempted to snatch her son at a Walmart outside of Atlanta on March 18th. But new surveillance video has put the entire incident in question. The 9 hours of footage provided to NBC News by Patel's attorney shows Miller on a mobility scooter with her 2 kids when a man approached. According to the police report, Miller says Patel asked her where the Tylenol was. Patel's lawyer says that as Miller stands to point to the Tylenol section, her 2-year-old son slips from her lap. His attorney...
All right, so this is such an interesting case. Shout out to Atlanta. Atlanta just needs to be stopped. We just stay in the news. Good gracious. All right, y'all know who that is right there. That's Ashleigh Merchant. His attorney is Ashleigh Merchant. Shout out. But let's finish this up. I think this case is pretty interesting because of the fail safes that we're going to talk about in a moment that seem to let the man down. Like, let's go.
He's saying Patel tried to stabilize the toddler, but Miller alleged something different.
I had to rip my baby out of some other man's hands because he was trying to snatch him.
Miller has not responded to NBC News' request for comment. The video then shows Patel walking off, his attorney pointing out he's later seen approaching Miller to show her that he had found the Tylenol as Miller appears to give him a thumbs up.
At the tail end of his interview, he said that he wanted to apologize to her for what he had done.
But the district attorney's office had a different take.
This defendant reached down and grabbed a 2-year-old child from the lap of a woman in a Walmart at 8:30 at night and attempted to pull that child from her lap.
The prosecution also pointing to Patel's criminal history, convictions in 2013 for felony conspiracy to accept bribes, and more recently for reckless driving, along with an alleged DUI case still.
None of those have anything to do with prior bad acts. Don't have anything to do with this case. Shame on the prosecutor for trying to bring those in as if those are proof and evidence because you accepted a bribe, you're trying to kidnap a child. Like, come on, man.
Pending. The judge deciding that Patel was not a threat to the community.
I think this is the first step in the right direction.
And Priya joins us now from Marietta, Georgia. Priya, what else did Mr. Patel have to say after he left court today?
Yeah, Allison, it was kind of interesting because you would think that someone who believed that they were wrongfully arrested would have some sense of anger or bitterness. But the feeling overwhelmingly that he exuded was that of gratitude towards both his family, also his defense attorney and her team, and also the overwhelming amount of support that he's received from people around the world. As I mentioned, there were hundreds of people there at the courthouse today, and 47,000 people have signed a change.org petition demanding for his release and justice. Now, I did ask him if he believes that race was a factor in this case, and he said that that was a sensitive topic. I also said how he felt about Caroline Miller making those accusations, and he said he has no idea why she would say those things, but more immediately said he was excited to go home, take a shower, eat some home-cooked food, and then in the future, of course, clear his name.
I think that's fair. I don't like that we're always asking, hey, do you think this was racially motivated? XYZ. I'm glad he didn't fall for the trick bag and just say, hey, I don't know why she did it. I don't know why. I don't think it's racial. I don't know. But I want to go home, take a shower, and eat some good food and be with my family. Shout out to him.
Allison.
Priya Sridhar, thank you. I want to bring in Ashleigh Merchant. She is the attorney for Mahendra Patel. Ashleigh, thank you so much for joining Top Story tonight. I want to start with the hearing. What was Mr. Patel's reaction to being granted bond and ultimately leaving jail today?
Oh my gosh, he was just so happy. He hadn't hugged his daughter or his wife or any family members in 6 weeks. So he was just really happy to be out, and I didn't realize that when he was arrested, it was winter. And I asked him, do you have clothes at the jail for them to change you into? And he said, yeah, but when I was taken into custody, it was cold. It was winter. So, he was in a thick sweater and, sweatshirt. And it's like, you just kind of forget how long 40 some days are.
So when did you first start representing Mr. Patel? And in terms of this area, this period of time where he was behind bars, seemingly without any sort of due process, is that your understanding of what had happened thus far? When did you come onto this case? And do you believe that he was held in detention without proper legal representatives?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really unique case, because there's a lot of fail-safes that we have in the criminal legal system that just failed him. And so it's really disappointing because normally, he would have been accurately charged if he had been charged at all, And so it started with the police sort of making a mistake by taking out the charges. And then they aggravated the charges. And so he was held without bond. And then I got involved soon after he was arrested and immediately started trying to get him bond, immediately reached out. I was hired within a week, less than a week, and immediately said to the DA's office, you've got this wrong. You've got this, the wrong person. This didn't happen. This crime didn't happen, and asked them to look critically at it. And they just refused to do that. And then they were quick to judgment. They rushed the case to the grand jury, presented testimony to a grand jury, didn't show the grand jury the video, didn't show them all of the evidence in the case. And, that really just resulted in Mr. Patel being held without bond for such a long period of time. The biggest issue was that the state just would not consent to a bond, which is abnormal. Normally they will agree to a bond in a case like this.
So,
okay, let me real quick say something. And a lot of people might not like this, but there are popular YouTubers that are talking about this topic. And sadly, they are associating Ashleigh's arch nemesis, her ops, Fonnie Willis. Fonnie Willis is not involved in this at all. Where this happened in Georgia, not everything in Georgia happens in Fulton County. This happened in Cobb County and in Ackworth, the city of Ackworth specifically. And there, the gentleman that's responsible for this is the chief assistant DA of Georgia, and his name is Jesse Evans. This has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with Fonnie whatsoever. I know we like to dunk on Fonnie. Whenever you see Ashleigh, you always want to tag Fonnie to it. That's not the case. I've seen some people talk about this more than it's kind of sad. Like Fonnie has nothing to do with this at all. It didn't happen in Fulton County. It happened in Cobb County, which is outside of Fulton by a pretty long stretch, by the way. Okay. I just want to get that out there and say that. So just so we can have the right information. Let's go.
Now he is out on bond. There still is an issue of what actually happened this day and the charges he's facing related to it. Priya Sridhar laid out your version of events in her piece there a bit. The mom, she was on a mobility scooter. She had 2 kids with her. According to the police report, Mr. Patel then asked her where the Tylenol was. You say that woman stood up to point out the Tylenol and her 2-year-old sort of slips from her lap. Mr. Patel, you say, tried to stabilize the child. What do you mean by stabilize? Are we talking he grabbed her? Did he lift the baby up? How did this play out?
Yeah, I actually got the best sort of view of what I think happened when I talked to one of the witnesses. There's a gentleman in the video that you see in an orange shirt, and he was very close by. And how he described it to me was that the child reached out as though he was the child's father. So if you imagine a toddler, 1 or 2-year-old toddler, they're kind of wiggly. I mean, any of us, I've got 2 kids, they're kind of wiggly, and they regularly reach out to adults. And if you look at the video and then listening to what he said, because there's certain parts of the video that you can't see 100% clearly, but it does look like the child is sort of reaching for Mr. Patel. Mr. Patel says that he did reach back for the child, and it makes perfect sense if you have that viewpoint in your mind when you're watching it, that they sort of reached for each other. Mr. Patel went to lean in to reach for this child who, if he was actually sort of leaning towards Mr. Patel, would appear like he is falling. Mr. Patel secures him. The mom says no, sort of pulls back, and the interaction is over. And that's exactly what you would expect to happen. You would expect someone to try to catch a toddler that they thought was falling. And then if the mother doesn't want that or says, I got it, then the gentleman would back off and everybody would go along their merry way. And that is what normally would happen. It's just this has been taken out of proportion and someone has created a crime where a crime didn't happen.
So if it was the case that she said no and he left, why in the surveillance video did he later appear to kind of come back and interact with her? I know you described that moment as him saying, I found the Tylenol, but why go back to someone who has clearly set a boundary and said, no, please don't?
He actually had to walk past her to get to the checkout. And so at that point, she hadn't been, and she's admitted it wasn't a big deal. It was just like, hey, no, I don't want your help. When he had offered the help, that she didn't want the help. He actually passes her 3 different times in about a 5-minute span after this alleged interaction took place. And she doesn't say or do anything. I mean, she's laughing with another gentleman immediately thereafter, right after this happened. She's talking with another Walmart employee. And then when Mr. Patel is walking out of the store, he shows her, hey, I found the Tylenol, because she had been part of his mission to try and find that Tylenol. And she gives him a thumbs up. It means it's just a normal type of interaction that you would expect to see 2 people having when there's no crime occurring.
She told 911 in her call to dispatch that Mr. Patel tried to snatch her child. Why would she use such strong language, do you think, if this didn't occur in the way that if it occurred in the way you're saying it did?
I think that is the $1 million question. And I think, after 30 minutes, she had 30 minutes and said, oh, he tried to snatch my baby, but I got my baby back. And, that's not what happened. But I think it was taken out of context. And then I think nobody went back and looked at the videos critically, and nobody went back and talked to the witnesses critically. And it just elevated from that. But I think it's very telling that she waited 30 minutes to call.
The state says the video does not tell the entire story. They also claim that there are some witnesses who say Mr. Patel appeared intoxicated. Was he intoxicated or drinking that day?
No. And that's, they say that, but they don't actually say any witness said that. And we've talked to the witnesses and nobody mentioned that. And the people, they were face to face with Mr. Patel. And so if there was any alcohol or anything like that, they would have been able to smell it. That's not in any of the reports. That's not anything that any single person has said. So it seems as though the state made that up out of whole cloth. And there's just no evidence of that. Plus, we have a video of 11 minutes where Mr. Patel is walking around this Walmart. There are 4 different people that he talks to, 4 different employees, plus the gentleman in orange, that all talk to him. And nobody says anything was awry. So I think it's just something that seems to have been made up out of whole cloth.
Ashleigh Merchant, attorney for Mahendra Patel, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening. We will be continuing to follow this case as it moves forward. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated
I thought
about
that was an
breaking news.
interesting story. It sounds like a good story, and it sounds like at least it's going to have a positive ending with this man being vindicated, and hopefully they'll hold that woman accountable for. It looks like she just outright lied, and maybe even slander this man, and put him in harm's way. So hopefully, some kind of justice will be brought for the Patel family, and this woman will be held accountable. But let me know what you think down below. I appreciate you checking that video out. Appreciate your commentary down in the chat below. If you had heard this as well, let me know what you thought about it. If something new a new development has come up, feel free to comment, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you say down in the comments. Until next time, everybody, grace and peace.